Welcome to the Wellness Revolution podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here is your host, Dr. Veronica.
Hi, Dr. Veronica, back to you for another edition of Dr. Veronica's Wellness Revolution. And so we're going to find out more today about how your mind and spirit, your energy is affecting your body. So many people say, why can't I lose weight? What's going on? I've tried everything. I've tried every single diet. I had a lady come to me with my coaching, and she said, I tried the no food diet. And not only saying you're laughing at that, but what happened is she went to a practitioner who basically withdrew practically everything from her. She said, I just couldn't stick with it. And I was like, you shouldn't stick with something like that. That's ridiculous. So she felt she had a moral failing because she couldn't be on what we termed, and we were laughing by the end of the session, the no food diet. No, that's not how it has to be. Other people, I had a session with a lady earlier today. I was like, what is your problem? Well, I can't exercise. I don't feel like I don't have any energy. I'm exhausted all the time. So I get to the end of the day, I just can't go to the gym. I know if I go to the gym, it would be okay. Have you ever gone to the gym? Yeah, well, actually 2 years ago, I hired a trainer and I stuck with it faithfully every day for 3 weeks. And then I waned off and, I went a little bit more. And by 4 months, I was completely done. What happened over those 3 weeks and 4 months? Did anything happen? No, I stayed exactly the same. And I was so good at what the trainer told me to do, but nothing was happening. So think about it. You work with a trainer, you do what you're supposed to do for 3 weeks with no result. And you think, I just can't do this. Is that what's going on? No, it's a little bit bigger than that. And this is what we're going to talk to you today. Now you have to listen carefully. I'm giving you the warning right now to go get your pencil and paper so that you can write down some information. I want you to be prepared, and I'm going to give it to you several times so that you know it. But Shana, and her name looks like Shana, but Shana Ekedal, Shana, S-H-A-N-A, and she's going to tell the story. She just told me the story behind her name, so she's going to have to tell the story behind her name as we start this interview. But Shana Ekedal helps people that get into these issues where they've tried everything, including the right nutrition and even exercise plans, and they still don't lose weight because there's a little bit more going on. And this has nothing to do with diet and exercise. How about that? A way to lose weight without diet and exercise. There's some things that happen very simple. Have you ever heard it? Somebody that just shifted their mind and all of a sudden the weight started falling off? It can happen. When you're blocked and you're toxic emotionally, spiritually, you hold on to stuff. So how do you get rid of those blocks? How do you even find out what those blocks are? So Shana Ekedal is the person that you want to. And I'm telling you to get your pencil and paper because I want you to be able to write her website so you can find her. That's the purpose of coming to the Wellness Revolution, so that you can have a revolution and a transformation. So Shana Ekedal, I'm going to spell it for you, then I'm going to introduce the beautiful lady to you. And I'm going to say it again at the end, in the middle, so you know. Shana, S-H-A-N-A, Ekedal, E-K-E-D-A-L. Did I do it right, Shana?
Yep,
yes.
You got it.
Yes, ShanaEkedal.com is where you find her. You say, why did she got such a complicated name and website and everything like that? So you'll remember. So you'll wait again and you'll run now and get your pencil and paper because you know it's not something you can just remember off the top of your head, but you want this information. So Shana is a holistic nutritional expert. There are a lot of those out there, really. There really are. You've been to a nutritionist. That ain't what's special about her. She's a transformational coach, but she works with your frequency, your energy. Now that's really special. So Shana, she's a trailblazer. She's been, you know, she's got the science behind her. She's got the education and the training and the paper on her wall. But what makes her get results in her 30-day frequency program? Is that what it's called? The frequency cleanse. What makes her get results, and she even has a book for this, is that she does it totally differently than everybody else. So Shana, welcome to the Wellness Revolution.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's my pleasure.
So Shana, first, everybody said, I said, you're going to tell the story behind your name. First, tell the story behind your name, just so we get to know you a little bit.
Yes, of course. So my parents were having a hard time deciding on a name. In fact, one of my parents, my mom, actually wanted the name Wendy, and my father wanted the name Jennifer, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And so and the funny backstory that I didn't share with you, but I'll share with you now, is they were both teachers. And so they had all these students over many, many years. And they couldn't agree. You know, when they have a bad student, they have a bad connotation with the name. Yeah. And so they couldn't find a name where both of them liked the name because, you know, this person had this student and this person had that student. And so how are they going to name me? And it turns out they saw this name, Shana, on a paper, and they both looked at it at the same time and said, Shana, we'll name her Shana. And the funny story is that the girl's name was actually Shana. So my whole life, I have basically had a name that was spelled wrong. So it is like Shana as if it had a W in it, but it's spelled like Shana. So
Shana.
Exactly.
Now, your last name, Ekedal, is just as unusual. Give us a little bit about the last name.
My last name is my husband's last name. It's a Norwegian last name. And the funny story on that, I've never had an easy name. Like in my next life, I'm going to be named John Smith or something because I have had names. My maiden name is actually Klasanin, which is a Croatian name. And then I married my lovely husband, Travis, and his last name is Ekedal. So I've just had across the board names that are difficult to spell and say. But
So we have that in common. But I was born with an easy name, Anderson, which is why I continue to use it perfectly. Or people just call me Dr. Veronica. But I'm on my second marriage. My first husband had a complicated name. My husband currently has a complicated name. It's very interesting because I'm just like, how can I keep picking these men with these complicated names? I think the more complicated your name does say something about who you are.
Sure.
Your birth name talks about what your life path is going to be, but when you take on different names, it actually tells about your purpose in life. And so I have a woman, I'm going to bring her on to the Wellness Revolution. She's what's called a nemologist. She tells people what their life purpose and path and spiritual journey is based on their name and their name at the time and their birth name and all that type of stuff. So they could just look at your name, not even Google you, and tell you all kinds of things about you. That's interesting because you have a similar type of name. I would love to, you have 3 E's in your name. I have 5 E's in my name. E's are very important. It means that you're meant to be a teacher. So I'd love to see what your middle name is to see if you have more E's in it.
My middle name is Lee, L-E-E.
Yes. So you got the 5 E's going on in there too. So what we're talking about, people have different paths and different things that are going on with them. Yep. So I started out with the name story because that was part of your journey, your path with your parents choosing, and actually you choosing what your path a lot in life was going to be. And so you went from being a nutritionist, which is just kind of run of the mill, and you say holistic, and it's just like, well, you know, to me, every nutritionist is holistic, and I've met all kinds, and I think it's rather boring. I mean, food is important, but most of the time I meet nutritionists and people have been to them without getting results. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your nutrition story. How did you come upon going into nutrition?
Yeah, so basically it was not at all, this has not been something I've done my entire life by any means. I actually came to it from my own personal journey. So I had a long-term career in the real estate industry and worked up very high in that industry. I was in commercial finance. I worked very long hours. I worked I worked with the big boys, you know, and I was a young girl, and it was difficult and stressful, and I wasn't feeding myself right, and I wasn't taking great care of myself, and I had a lot of stress. And from the time I was a child, I really had a difficult relationship with food. My parents divorced at the age of 10, and I began eating and overeating to numb those feelings, that pain that I was too young to know at all what to do with. And so throughout my teen years and my 20s, I just did anything and everything I could to maintain an exterior look, and not even aware that what was going on the inside of my body. And when I turned about 30 years old, it's like everything started to fall apart. I started to have a string of small health issues. And I knew intuitively, I've always been very, very intuitive, even as a small child. I was born that way. I knew it was a wake-up call. I knew that my life was not going to be the same. I had these feelings like this is a turning point in my life. And I went to a doctor, and I asked him, I said, you know, I know a lot of people just want to come and take a pill. I actually want to fix my body, and I want to know how to do it because I'm way too young to be having this happen. And he looked at me, and it's like he didn't know what to say. He just had this blank look, and he handed me a prescription, and I left the room. And in that moment, to do this. And that really, I've always been into research. I researched a lot in college. I mean, that researcher in me came alive, and I said, I will figure this out. If nobody knows how to help me, I'm going to figure it out. And so I really went on a 7-year journey of, you know, first trying to heal my physical body, and then learning it was so much more than that. And working with healers on the emotional stuff I had been through in my childhood, and the mental blocks that I had to certain things in my life, and really starting to look at mind, body, spirit, soul, the whole picture. And when I was finally able to come to a place of healing in my physical body, other people started showing up saying, how'd you do this? And how do I do this? And so it was a really natural evolution. And at some point in that process, when I started working with energy and, you know, started understanding how everything is connected, I said, this is my purpose. You know, this is why I'm here, and this is what I have to give to people. And so I just started sharing it and having incredible, powerful results for people.
So Shana, what kind of health problems were you having specifically?
I started getting skin cancer, like I have 2 scars on my face. I have numerous scars on my body, and it was happening in such rapid succession. So certainly there was issues with my immune system going on. I was getting sick all the time, to the point where I was terrified if someone else was sick in the room. I mean, I would just catch illnesses like crazy. And I just felt exhausted, and like I couldn't function in the same way I used to function. Like my brain wasn't working like it used to. I was tired on all fronts, emotionally tired, mentally tired, physically tired, and not at a normal state. I mean, this went on for a long time. It was something where rest wasn't going to change it. So yeah, that was a lot of what was going on.
And what was you were going to traditional Western doctors, probably a lot of them that had the great paper on the wall. They really didn't know what was going on, but what was your wake-up call that I got to do something different? What was there an event where you said, this is ridiculous, I got to change?
Yeah, I mean, they kept giving me prescriptions, and I have never really wanted to be on medication, and certainly not multiple prescriptions. That didn't resonate with me. And so I started taking a few of the medications, but the real wake-up call was the first, skin cancer on my nose. I have a scar that runs down the middle of my nose. And it was like, I kind of took it as a sign, like, we will not be ignored. You know, when you have something on your face, like a surgery right down the middle of your nose, it's kind of like the universe saying to you, like, you will pay attention. You know, that's how I took it. Like, it wasn't on my arm or my leg where it wouldn't have mattered. And that woke me up. I was like, wait a second, am I going to, is this going to keep happening? Am I going to have more scars on my face? Like, at what point am I going to start listening to my body and not, sometimes in life we just overrun our tiredness, or we overrun that we don't feel good, and we just keep going and keep going. And that's what I was doing. And it catches up with you, and that's what was happening for me.
So what do you think the significance behind, I do medical intuitive work, and I want to hear your perspective on what do you think the significance is of 2 things. 1, three things. One, cancer. Two, skin. Three, right here in the middle of your nose. What do you think I mean, those are three different signals going on. One is cancer. Two is it's on your skin, which says something about what's going on in your energy system. And three, exactly where it is, right here, where you can't ignore it in a certain energy area.
Yeah.
What do you get from that now?
I think a lot of the cancer had to do with anger, unexpressed anger, unexpressed emotion that I was feeling towards things. I wasn't really comfortable with being angry or how to express that effectively. And so I feel like I had bottled up so much emotional stuff that I wasn't even present to that it was bottled up. Like I was at the point where I was so shut off to what was going on inside of me. Again, I was working 7 days a week. I was very much in the doingness of life and not in the beingness of life. So that was going on for me. I feel like I was not at all taking care of the inside, and it was seeping to the outside. So it was like literally the inside of my body for so long had been neglected that it was kind of, it's like, when you are dirty inside, eventually it's going to seep to the outside, right? And so I felt like all of that trapped emotion, all of, the anger and the sadness and all of that stuff that I had experienced from childhood. And then it just kept bottling up and bottling up and bottling up, and it had nowhere else to go, right? I wasn't going to verbalize it or express it, and it had to come out somewhere. And I feel like I had other spots on my body, but that wasn't enough for me to listen. And so I really felt like when it came on my face and out of my nose, and I was like, I paid it. It's like the universe knew I was going to pay attention to that, and that I wasn't going to. I mean, I could have ended up with 20 scars on my body, and I really wouldn't have thought a thing about it.
It's true. Yes. So you healed yourself, or you figured, what did you do? Because you're a holistic nutritionist. Was that your first approach to just say, I'm going to change the way I eat and that's going to fix it? What did you do first? Because a lot of times people come and they'll say, okay, I'm going to clean up my diet. Or they say, I eat clean, or I'm eating healthy already. I've done everything. What was your approach at that point? Because usually the first approach isn't to look at your emotions, even though it's causing a problem. That's not your first approach. Yeah. We reject that here over there in the West a lot of times, even though we know it's relevant. So what did you first do?
Yeah, food was my first access point. And I actually believe food is a great access point to different levels of consciousness, different levels of accessing your own energy, different levels of understanding, if you will. And when we start to clean out the inside of our body, I believe we're able to bring more energy and light through our system, which then you're able to have more awareness, right? It just kind of comes hand in hand. So when I started learning more about diet and cleaning up my diet, and really, there's all kinds of, there's all kinds of different healthy, right? Healthy is like a really broad word. And, some people think healthy is just eating, like packaged low calorie foods, like that's healthy, right? And so other people, and so there's all these different definitions of healthy. And I started to explore all of them to some degree, and then really settled on, whole foods, eating, close to nature, less processed foods. Like that's what really started to resonate for me. And since we do food all day long, every day, it's a really effective access point. There's nothing else that we really do as often as, you have to eat to live, and we do it all day long, every day. Like, we don't always do other things every day, all day long. So as I started to clean my body out, I just found that I started kind of being more aware of subtle energy, more aware of my emotional states, my mental states. Like there was a different level of seeing. Like I said before, I wasn't really looking. I wasn't seeing because I wasn't even in that level of consciousness. And so that just started to open up for me. And then, certainly after a while, I started seeking out healers that understood, emotions and energy and things like that. Because when I was doing the food, like that wasn't the end of the line, right? That didn't do it. That wasn't it. There was more to the story. And and at that point, my intuition really kicked in. So I started listening to my intuition, my own inner guidance, which I so believe in, that we each have our own, and it's very strong. And if we can listen to it more often and follow it, it is our roadmap. And so I started to listen to that, even when other people would say, oh, what's that you're doing? And this is silly. If I really felt strongly about it, I did it. And I call it following the breadcrumbs. It's just like life would say, do this, go here, do this, go here. And so I just followed that path, and took me on the huge journey, and it took me to my own health. So it was powerful.
So after the food with the journey, what comes next? How did you get into, we get from somebody who has skin cancer to somebody who helps people change their energy. When did you start training or doing, or you did the food stuff? Okay, this isn't it.
Yep.
When did you start getting into, there's something else going on in me and I got to fix that, I teach other people how to fix it?
Yeah. So it happened as a progression. I first started helping people with the nutrition aspect of things, but as my awareness got bigger and bigger, I started to realize it's who I really am, which was interesting. So when I was a child, I sensed energy. I actually even, saw energy as a child and things like that. But I had kind of disowned that part of myself. I mean, nobody really understood it in my family. It wasn't something that anybody else connected with. So I didn't live out of that for most of my life. But come to look back on doing real estate is what I was able to do, and what I'm able to do now in the health and wellness space is I was able to kind of see into people. So when I was doing real estate, when it was coming time to negotiate things, I was able to see like what people needed so that they didn't get stuck in the negotiation process. And I was able to experience people's mental, emotional states, kind of where they were in life, what had happened to them, what their triggers are, and how to help move them beyond that. Because everybody's answer is not the same, right? What helps one person move beyond something is not what helps another person. And so I used it in my career, but I wouldn't have identified it. I didn't think it was different than what anybody else did. And until I started, going through my own healing process, it started to get louder for me, and it started to get more prominent for me. And then when I started working with people on food and nutrition, I started going, wow, I'm doing something else here. Like, I'm helping them because I see like where they're blocked, what's in the way. I start talking to them and going deeper into what's happened in their life. And the way it occurs for me is like highlighting a book, right? So like if you are reading a book and you read an important part, you highlight it and then it stands out to you. When someone is talking to me, like, and they say something, like maybe they share something that happened in their childhood, it will get highlighted for me. Like I'll go, oh, right there is something. Like there's a lot of energy on that. And I just keep asking questions and we go deeper into that. And a lot of times people have ways that they look at things that are of detriment to them, and they hold on to them energetically, and it's in their physical body, even energetically. And there needs to be movement around that. The energy is built to move. It's not meant to stay stagnant in the body. And so when I'm able to like kind of really get some movement around stuff is when people really see results start happening, where that energy is not like this rock anymore. It's like they're starting to see maybe it isn't the way they thought it was. Like maybe the things that they made up aren't really true about themselves. Maybe, an event that happened doesn't have the significance that they thought it did. Like it's just looking at these different areas and the things that we hold on to in life and getting some movement to that energy.
Okay. And so getting people to let go of their stories, very, very challenging. People cling to their stories.
Yeah.
Whether it be, my life is crappy because my parents got divorced at 10, or, I feel abandoned because, my father went off and married. This is my story. My father went off and married my mother's best friend and forgot about me. Or I was abused. And so I was abused and I could never get over that. But people do get over these things and have their health or take back their health. So tell us a little bit more about some of the things that people can just start on the pathway doing to start taking back their health. One is, it's all a story. It's all a story. It's not good or bad. It's all a story. But what do you tell people to start off?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. There's something that happened, and then there's the meaning you put on that. So when you have two kids that grow up in the same household, and let's say the same event happened to them, one child is going to make one meaning of that event that happened, and another child's going to make another meaning of that, and they can be totally polar opposite. And so we start to get movement in just realizing that, like you said, it's all a story. And what people, I think it's beautiful in a way, because I think that the way that human beings are built is such that we're not built that we can see all of our own stuff. Like, so it almost breeds relationship, right? It breeds that we need other people to reflect back to us aspects of ourselves that we don't know are there or can't see. And what I say to people is, when it's in the dark, when we can't see stuff and it's behind us, we can't do anything about it. When we can bring it into the light, when we can bring it forward and we can look at it, that's where we have the chance to actually make different choices from that and see it for what it is. And so it's really a process of starting to, it's scary. It's scary to look at things that we don't want to look at. There's a reason we eat food. There's a reason we aren't healthy. There's a reason we do these things, to keep the lid on the emotions and the mental stuff and the things from our past that we've been through. It's not fun to experience that emotion. There's a reason why we've held it in. And so it takes an element of courage, and it takes an element of trusting someone, I believe, that's going to walk you through that process, that's going to help you gently take that lid off little by little, so that you can see what's underneath it that's holding you back. And you can hold, I've held clients' hands in my office while they have emoted about things that happened 20 years ago, that it's been stuck in their body, and it just needs and wants to come up and out, right? It doesn't want to stay stuck there. Like, you don't want it to stay stuck there, but we don't really provide in our society a safe place for people to do that.
So,
right? People don't know where to go.
Yeah. So now just talk a minute, because you have people who've had these really hard, devastating things happen in life. I have a friend who, his wife died when he had a young child. And years later, I think a lot, he's still putting up pictures of their wedding and all, and she's long gone.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and saying, oh, wow, he's so really stuck. Yeah. And somebody might say, well, of course he's going to be really stuck. His young wife died. But on the other side, I'm looking and saying, wow, he's just setting himself up for illness. That's what I'm saying. And him not moving past that particular time in life.
Yeah.
So, and so you're saying, well, that's easy for you to say, Dr. Veronica. It wasn't your wife who died. It's easy for you to say. It wasn't you who was sexually abused when you were 1. It's easy for you to say you didn't have this happen. But we all have some kind of story, some kind of suffering in our life.
Yep.
And we talk about people emoting. I see people who emote over and 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 again and again and again and again and again over whatever it is. What do you say to people like that?
Yeah, it's this is where like the energy comes in. So there's low vibration energy, as I'm sure you teach people and know about, and like there's high vibration energy, right?
Hold on. We got to step back.
Yeah.
So we're talking about over and over, but you just said, okay, energy, low vibration, high vibration. So as you're talking about this, people are saying energy. What is energy? I mean, we're not in science class here. We're not doing electrical. We're not doing circuitry here in electrical engineering. But what do you mean by energy? What do you mean by vibration? There's a tuning fork. What does that all mean? So when you answer this about over and over and over again, right? They're resonating at that really low energy level. That's a problem.
Yeah. So I don't even like to talk about energy in a scientific standpoint, because it is, and everybody's brains shuts off. But when we stay, let's just call it negative patterns, right? I'm going to equate what I call low energy with negative patterns. When we stay in a negative pattern, right, we keep re-injuring and re-experiencing in a cyclical manner over and over and over again. When we can raise out of that experience, I'll call it, into what I call higher energy patterns, struggle does not exist. So we don't stay in that repeating energy pattern over and over again. That's part of the work I do. I'm not sure exactly how to guide people to do that on their own. I mean, it's something that happens in a process, probably that you work with clients with and that I work with clients with. But I can say that, in general, cleaning out your body is like a great starting point for starting to access, more. I think that's a great starting point across the board. I mean, I don't, I'm not all about exercise more and eat less and stuff. That's not my teaching. But I do think that fueling your body with the fuel that it's built to run on does change things for people, is a beginning stage of opening up to different awareness, for sure.
Okay. So low energy, high energy, I'm going to help you clean out your energy. I mean, there's people don't even understand necessarily that everything vibrates at a particular thing. This is what it is. This is how the world works. Everything's particular energy, even for your health and healing. So people, I tend not to wear black because things can't get through it. I'm not going to get the best healing. So people like to wear the little black dress or black whatever. I'm like, I have very few black things in my wardrobe because of energy. And so do you teach people about things that other tasks or other ways that they can also promote their healing through things like the clothes that you wear and I'm looking in your room with the flowers around you and I'm looking and saying, okay, she's got on the nice vibrant blue and there's the nice background and there's the flower over there and,
Yeah.
About that also. Yeah,
I do. I teach people about, it's like, we're just not conscious of what we have in our environment. We're not conscious of what we put on our body. We're not conscious of, the negativity that we take in, even like on TV and our Facebook feeds, like all of this stuff is like coming into our system, right? It's through our eyes, through our ears, through our senses. And we're so desensitized to it that we don't even realize how it affects us. So there's not any part of a person's life we don't talk about, because I truly believe to like heal yourself physically, even if you're just thinking about healing yourself physically, to disregard the mental, to disregard the emotional, to disregard these other aspects of self, the spirit, is just, it's like cutting off an arm, it's like, how can you, we are all together, we are a whole person, how can we not look at all these different aspects of self? How can we simply heal our body with a meal plan? And I think we proved that we can't, because if it was that simple, there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of meal plans out there. Why are people still struggling with their weight, right? If it worked, right, we wouldn't have a problem. You and I would be out of job. We'd be on a beach somewhere. You know what I mean?
Because I just don't have enough discipline. That's the answer. I just don't have enough discipline.
Right. And I think there's stuff beneath that. Right. So that's where I help with it. When people say like, I just can't stick to things, that's a mindset, that's energy for me. And that is something you can break up. When people say, I don't have enough discipline, there's something beneath that. It's so much easier to say, I don't have enough discipline and stop the conversation than to go to what the truth is that's beneath, I don't have enough discipline, right? And we all do that in all areas of life. We just say, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have the energy to do that. I had a client the other day tell me, I just don't know if I have the energy to like take this on. And after an hour session, we got to all the reasons why it's exhausting for her to think about food. It goes back to a number of things that happened in her childhood, right? And that's why her experience of talking about being healthy is exhausting. But she didn't know that. She doesn't know that stuff is underneath there. She just knows that she feels exhausted by talking about health and food and whatever. But there's always something underneath it. There's always a belief system or something that's happened in your life that's causing you to be like, because when you say like, I just can't commit to something, or I can't, it's like a block, right? I'm not open to listening to this, or I can't do it. It's a block. Like I can't, done. I don't want to talk about it, right? Whenever we have that kind of a strong attitude about something, there's something beneath it. And we can't see that, you know?
Yes. And so, I talk to people all the time where I won't take people in my program unless they're already ready. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have any blocks, but they have to be ready to commit and implement at the time that I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
And if they're not ready to commit and implement, there's something else going on. And I'm not going to take them in because I know they're not going to be successful. When they're really ready to get results, I'm like, 12 weeks, we're going to get you results and you'll be amazed. But if they're not, no. So I got a lady today I was talking to. She was interested in changing her life, she said, except the caveat is, if it's anything that's going to interfere with me paying for the college of my kids, I can't do it. But I'm tired of putting myself behind everybody else. I'm exhausted. How long have you been exhausted? 19 years. I've been exhausted. When's the last time you felt good? Well, I had a hysterectomy last week, and this last week is the best I've ever felt because I slept the entire week. I'm exhausted. I said, what's the worst thing? If you could have one thing that you want to take care of, what do you want to take care of? I'm just so tired. My mind is not focused. I need a new job. I can't even get a new job because I don't have the energy to even go look. But by the way, if it's going to be anything, I always put myself behind everybody. It's my time now. But by the way, if it's going to interfere with anything that has to do with my kids, I'm not going to do it. What do you say to somebody like that?
Those are the blocks that we put in place. Those are the limitations. That's how we hold ourselves back, right? I believe that we all, at the core of who we are in a state of abundance. It is only the lack and the limitation and the belief systems of other people and all this stuff that we incorporate, right? When we're born onto this planet, we're born to people, and those people have realities and belief systems. And to survive at a fundamental level, we incorporate ourselves into those realities and belief systems. And I actually believe that part of growing into an adult is starting to identify what's yours and what's theirs. What resonates with me separate than my family system, and how do I, if my family system wasn't healthy, how do I get healthy, separate from that, and starting to think in a different way. A lot of people are born to families and they feel like, maybe they're an artist and the family was scientists, and they just feel like, I don't even belong here. These are not my people. They don't get me. And so it's really a journey of, figuring out who you really are and peeling away those lack and limitation things, because we don't see that there's infinite possibility. We don't see that I tell my clients, in any one area of life, pick any one area of life. We tend to say, let's say someone lost their job, right? And they're like, I'm going to find a new job and I want it to be with this company. And I'm going to go after this position within this certain company. And we get hyper focused on that. Right? And we cut off all other possibilities because we're obsessed with getting that job with that company. And then when that doesn't work out, we fall to pieces because the world's over. I didn't get the job with the right company. Meanwhile, the universe could be saying, we've got a job for you over here. We've got a job for you over here. We've got all this other opportunity, but you're so focused like this on this one thing that you've cut off your abundance. You've cut off all the possibilities, by saying I can't, I want to do this, but I can't afford it. You're just cutting off the possibility of how incredible it is to work with you and what might actually happen.
That's the most common excuse. I can't afford money, and people come and I got to pay for college, or I have to, and that's the most common excuse, that I have to do this. And so therefore, now the question is, what'll happen? Will your kids really not have their college tuition paid? Well, there's all kinds of ways to get college paid for. You can take out a loan for college. There's so many different ways that college can get paid for. And guess what? If you stay sick, you're not available there for your kids and your husband and your everybody. But if people don't get it, the most common excuse people use is finances. That's the most common excuse. And it's the one that, we say, oh, well, that's just reality. But is it? Is it? Because what do we know about reality? I know when we say finances and people use it as an excuse, the average income in America of families is, let's say, $51,000 or something like that for a family of four.
Yeah.
A family of four will take a trip to Disney and spend $5,000. Mm-hmm. So when you say, I can't afford it, what do you mean? You just, for something frivolous, you can. So we'll find the money. You'll be creative in producing it. You'll sell things on eBay that sit in your closet for a long time. You will figure out, you'll find that uncle or that relative or that sister or that mother. I've had people come into my office with their parent and say, I'll pay for it for you. Yeah. Or, they're unemployed, but they say, you know what? I have enough money in my savings. This is important for me. But on the other side, I have people that say, well, I'm unemployed. I got money in my savings. And because I'm unemployed, I can't spend it right now. And so therefore, I'm going to stay sick. Yet part of them being unemployed is because they are sick.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're sick enough, you become resourceful on how you're going to get past those money hurdles. Aren't they?
Well, and I find too that it's like people have not had the experience of the world rising up to meet you, because when you get really intent on having something in your life, creating the money to get well or whatever, like miracles do happen. Like things show up. I've had this happen so many times in my life. And I share these stories with clients because it's super powerful to know that when you focus your intent, like let's say you want to get well, right? And someone wants to work with you and maybe they don't directly have the money sitting in their account, but they say, you know what? It means everything to me to work with Dr. Veronica, and I'm going to make this happen. You would be surprised how money shows up. Like you'd be surprised. Like let's say you talk to someone and they're like, yeah, I'll give you a little bit of money. And you would have never thought to ask them before, and they're totally excited for you and they want you to get well. Or you could be like at your job and all of a sudden they decide to give out some random bonus. It's like things like that happen for people. They happen all the time in my practice. They've happened to me personally. And so it's part of, I think it's the world's way of saying, look, if you really want something and you go after that, like we're going to support you in that.
But I'm poor, and everybody I know is poor. I'm amazed at when people, I've been amazed at the resourcefulness of people. And people say, well, why is it always about money? It's not always about money. Money's an energy exchange. It's an energy exchange, and it's the energy exchange that we know about how to work with. That's why it's about that. But also, when people really think it's important, that's how I know people really think it's important.
Exactly.
The reason why people are sick is because when it's free, you just go do it and you don't care about it a lot. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the store and you buy it, I know what you think is important based on what you buy.
I'll tell you a really funny story about that. Years and years and years ago, I was in a class and they used to give out the textbooks for free. And now they, like the class, is now, I've come to this class, it's been around for years, and they make us pay like $250 for these textbooks. I mean, just at that time it was like crazy, right? And everybody was complaining and we're like, why? And the teacher on the first day, he got up and he said, I used to give these away for free and I could still give them away for free. He goes, but half of the class would leave them here underneath their chair because there was no value on them. When they got them for free, they didn't care about them. The fact that you just paid $250 and you think it's a crazy amount of money, he goes, nobody leaves their textbook here. And that was really powerful. When he said that to me, I was like, very interesting. Like the fact that people put so much forth to buy those textbooks meant they took care of them. So
yes, where they decided to spend their hard-earned money.
Yep.
And if it's not hard, and we all are working hard. And so I respect when people spend their hard-earned money because it says to them, this is really important. This is more important than my house renovation. This is more important than my vacation. This is more important than my kids' college tuition. We'll get a parent loan. Yeah. We'll defer it for a while. You see what I'm saying? There's always a way with that. It's just, everybody always uses money as the excuse. I'm sure you have people like that. And the other part is, it should be paid for by the system. It should be paid for. Well, on the other side, that comes with the responsibility of taking care of yourself. What do you tell people about the responsibility of taking care of themselves?
I have a term called radical responsibility, and I teach it like through and through. And this is, we live in a culture where, and I hate to say this word because some people take it differently, where we feel like we're the victim of things, right? Where we feel like life happens to us, life is doing it to us, we have no control over it. So many times when you hear people speak on different subjects, and maybe they only feel like a victim in one area of their life and they're powerful in other areas. So it's different for different people. But I actually talk about getting in the driver's seat of life, where you realize that you are the creator of your life and not the victim of other people's circumstances, right? Because when we start relating to life as we're the victim, oh, I can't because this person won't let me, or you know how the world is, it's just this way, and therefore I can't have what I want, or like you said, like I don't have the money, I'm broke, like all these things. Do you feel the disempowerment in that, the sitting in the back seat, like this is just something that's my reality and I can't do anything about it? And the truth is that we are all powerful creators, and we can create our way out of anything. I mean, there are millions of stories of people who had nothing and built something incredible. There are tons of stories of people who were in terrible relationships and then had a wonderful relationship. I mean, it's all over the place, right? But the difference is that they believed they could. They saw that they could create something different than what they came from, and they took action on that. Right? And likely a lot of those people have stories of people, them starting to take action and people stepping up and saying, hey, I'll help you. Hey, you know, we all love to help people that are on a good path and making, you know, like I said, the world will show up for you if you start showing up for yourself.
It's true. So you tell people you have a 30-day frequency cleanse. Is that what it's called? 30-day. ShanaEkedal.com. ShanaEkedel. I want to spell it. 30-day frequency cleanse talks about raising your energy. Talk a bit about that, because these are the blocks that make or break people. Talk a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, we all know what it feels like to feel like everybody's had at least one time in their life they feel amazing, right? They feel good, whether it's they get in a new love relationship or they've lost weight or they have something extraordinary going on, and we just feel unstoppable at those moments. And that's energy, right? You've got this surge of love in your life or this surge of success in your life, and it just feels like nothing can go wrong at those moments. And so this really is a program about connecting us to that energy and connecting us to what I like to think of as our highest self, our best self that we can be, and how to be that creator in the world, how to look at our life and say, you know, I'm not the victim of these things, of what's happened to me in the past, or even my health right now. Like, I have the power to create into my future. Today is today, but tomorrow can be a new day, and I can create that. And so I take people through a journey of how to first start, you know, putting healthy stuff in their diet, because I believe that that's the beginning, right? To start really connecting on a deeper level. And then the basically like 3/4 of the program is really about ways to create a new way of living, right? To start experiencing life in a more positive manner, to start lining up with better energy, to start bringing in more of the goodness in life and not attracting all of the stuff that we don't like.
So I'm going to give you another, you know, this is the question people, what exactly are we going to be doing for the 30-day? What exactly are we going to be doing for 12 weeks? What exactly are we going to be doing for 4 months? And my answer is, I'm going to explain it to you in this hour consultation, because that's why it takes 12 weeks or 6 months, because it's a journey. But can you give a little bit of the synopsis? It's like when people are with me, it's like a curriculum. It's like you're in college. I can say, we're going to go through these 5 areas. We're going to talk about this. We're going to hit it. It's like chemistry. You're going to do the didactic. You're going to go to lab. Your body's the lab. And we're going to work on these things.
Yep.
Exactly. Can you give me more of a definition? Because people want to know what exactly you're going to do. I get it. You know, it's going to take some time to go through this. And so you can't exactly in the next 2 minutes say everything, but tell people.
I'll give it my best shot.
Because all of a sudden it's like, you tell me exactly everything. Well, I went to medical school for all those years. How am I supposed to tell you exactly in 15 minutes? But go ahead.
Exactly. I'll give it my best shot. I'll tell you, there are 4 pillars of the program. The first pillar is called truth. And so this is getting to the things that we were talking about earlier, the things we don't see about ourselves, how-tos on getting to that truth, the things that might be lying underneath the surface that are affecting us. It's also getting to the truth about food and what's really actually healthy. There's so much misinformation out there. So what exactly to fuel your body with so that you can start opening up. The second pillar is called release, and that's really where we start to work on the mental, emotional blocks. I take you through different exercises on how to see more of what you don't see. We go through a whole section called Your Story, which is kind of breaking up that story pattern that we were talking about earlier. In the third pillar, we go through, it's called experience. And what I notice is that people would experience life in certain, maybe like someone's negative, right? And they just feel like they're kind of negative people in their life, negative experiences. They're really focused on the stuff that's not working for them. And so experience is all about getting out there in the world and starting to exist in a different way than you have, right? So let's say we take the same way to work every day, right? And we only drive that one way. Like simply by even taking a different way to work, we're going to see different things. We're going to get outside of our box. And what I notice is that people live in these very tight boxes, right? And they don't see the possibilities, and they live with blinders on, and we can't see the good stuff out there. And so experience is all about getting on the ground, getting on the court, starting to experience life in a new way. I give you tons of like activities to do that and kind of just mix up that energy a little bit. And then the fourth pillar is called align. And this to me is one of the most important things, because what happens when people lose weight or go on a health path or following a meal plan, they end up having a result for a period of time and then going back and not having, gaining the weight back or getting unhealthy again. And that's because we don't have community and we don't have alignment with people that hold us to our highest self, right? If let's say you work with Veronica or myself and you start getting really positive in your life and you start losing weight and you start, feeling better, there are going to be people in your life that are uncomfortable with that. They don't know you to be that person, right? And they start to question themselves because you're looking better, feeling better, doing better. And they're going, wait a second, you used to be my best friend or my wife or my husband. We used to commiserate together. Now you're living a happy, positive life. Where does this leave me? And so I help people navigate that so that they can really stay consistent over the long term and build a healthy environment around their new healthy self, which to me is how you get what I like to call forever results, right? Otherwise, we start feeling beaten down by some of the stuff in our life and we kind of revert back to old habits. So that's in a nutshell. Does that help?
Absolutely. For me, it's absolutely beautiful. And I can see how you could need 30 days to walk through it. And, you got to have the time to be able to figure it out and digest it. So then it's not just about reading the book.
Yep.
I know you have a book, you have an ebook people can get if they go to shanaekedal.com, ShanaEkedel. Is it DEL?
It's DAL.
Oh my God, DAL. Did I say it wrong the whole time?
Not the whole time.
Okay. The frequency cleanse, Shana. Oh my gosh. Because I remember it looks like Shana or Shana, but it's actually Shana. Because her parents wanted to make sure she had a positive association. So this is why she's a wonderful person now, because her parents picked carefully. ShanaEkedal.com, the frequency cleanse. And this is about changing your energy. So any health changes you make can last permanently. If you don't raise your vibration, you're not going to maintain whatever health change you make. If you do not raise your vibration, you're not going to lose weight. If you don't raise your vibration, if you lose weight, you'll get something else. So you may lose weight, but then something else will come along. Because I see people who come in and they're skinny and they still got a bunch of problems. Mm-hmm. So it's all the same thing. Shana, however you want to say it, Shana. Shana, her whole life she's had to deal with this. Shana's had to deal with this her whole life, so she gets that nice big beautiful smile.
I answer to anything, really.
My husband has a name like that too. He'll answer to anything because like people pronounce it miserably. But anyway, I so appreciate you telling people how important their energy is and being on Dr. Veronica's Wellness Revolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was such a pleasure. You're so much fun. This was a great conversation and I really enjoyed myself. So thanks.
Hey everyone, I want to really thank you so much for listening to my new podcast, Dr. Veronica's Wellness Revolution. I really enjoy helping others regain their health. So if this episode helped you, it can definitely help others. Do me a favor, give us a 5-star review on iTunes to help me spread this message. And because I really appreciate your help so much, I will be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card each week to a random individual. Check the show notes of this episode for the details on how to win. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.